Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Barb Meets World, and we are here to discuss the Real Housewives of Potomac's Season 10, Episode 10, Blunt Truth. Okay, y'all? But before we get into all of that, you already know I need you guys to like the video because it helps me and my channel in terms of the algorithm. It helps me attract new subscribers such as yourselves. And if you're not a current subscriber, go ahead, hit the subscription button, become a Barb's babe. I would love to have you. Also, let me know what you guys think of this episode as well as this season in the comment section below. Don't forget to share me with all of your folks. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. Let me throw my banner up here so you can all follow me on my social media accounts that are now scrolling along the bottom of the screen. I do just want to give a disclaimer. If you guys haven't seen or seen my post on my community tab, then you probably don't know that I've been a little under the weather, which is also why I won't be on camera today, y'all. I do apologize, but I'm trying to get my life. I'm trying to get my life back here. And it's just like this sickness will not go away 100%. It's so annoying. It's my second time being sick in less than a month, and it's just like it won't completely shake. I got stuff to do, okay? It is the holiday season. I got places to go, people to see, things to purchase, y'all know, the whole nine. So just pray for me. Anyway, this episode was all right or whatever. Because I am late with this video, I'm not probably going to go into too much detail about every little thing. Try to definitely give you some, wave tops and major highlights. But I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about certain individuals right now. I'm starting to see I don't know if I should say mask slipping or mask being dropped an inch on certain people's faces. But I'm really starting to see where certain people's motives and intentions lie. And I will talk more in detail about that as we get into this episode. So let's jump right in. Okay. Episode started off with Gizelle. She was going to purchase or look at least a new electric G-Wagon. She is trying to be more responsible about, her carbon emissions. See, it sounds like I can't even pronounce words, and I'm like trying to pronounce them. It's so annoying. Anyway, and Wendy actually comes through as well. And I want to say I have a picture. Yes, I do have this picture right here of them. And I really liked Wendy's look. She looked pretty cute. But all in all, we can see that Stacey's still very much on Gizelle's mind. I don't quite understand why she has such vitriol, such a vendetta against this lady, other than my assumption is she just thinks that she knows that Stacey is a fan favorite. She knows that Stacey is not going to give the reaction that she wants, which just only further pisses off a person like Gizelle. That's honest, my God's honest truth, y'all. And as far as Wendy goes, I do understand how, because she is having a great season, she is in a great space, and for the most part, Stacey's lies don't affect anybody but herself. I want to say that's why Wendy isn't too annoyed, too angry at the Shio of it all, Shio / versus Appy Hetty of it all. I want to say that that's why she's not bothered, but you guys did hear her slip in how she also is perhaps in the market for a new vehicle, and she also was looking at a G-Wagon, so she let Gizelle know, real cute, real funny, like that she'd get a different color. So she's not trying to be seen as a copycat, so to speak. She also mentioned that Stacey had reached out to her stylist as well. Her I'm not sure if she's still working with her, Chanel Welsh, but I loved all the looks that she's always styled Wendy in to date. I'm not sure if they're still working, like I just said, but I'm also aware that last season's reunion, that was a stylist who styled a bunch of the ladies. So I don't really think that, I don't really know. I don't really know if you can be upset or not by that. I don't really know if that's such a big deal, rather than maybe she just wanted her to style her on certain occasions. As stylists, they all have different aesthetics. They all have different styles, literally. So maybe for a certain event or for a certain instance, she just really wanted this person's styling. I think it's all about how you go about it as well. If you're going about it all shady like and in a backbiting way, then yeah, of course, then it's that's not cool. But if you are being honest in wanting to work with a person that may work with another person in the group, I don't really think that that's really you trying to be a copycat all the time, as much as you just genuinely might like that individual's work. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. Anyway, before I start rambling, Wendy says she doesn't feel like Stacey's a bad person. She thinks she's sweet. And that's why I'm over here just looking at Gizelle crazy for coming out of her mouth to say that Stacey's a liar, Stacey's a liar, Stacey's a liar, when Gizelle has been someone on this cast that has been lying on people, very, very detrimental lies on people since the dawn of time, pretty much. So it's like, to a degree, right message, completely wrong messenger is how I see it. But anyway, I also didn't like that. Was it Gizelle or Wendy who brought up how what we do here is be accountable? Gizelle, branching off what I just mentioned about lying, Gizelle, you also are somebody who doesn't take accountability in those lies. So what are we talking about? Anyway, moving right along. And who are you to want to ensure that Monique has changed when, quite honestly, a lot of us are seeing that you truly haven't changed based on some of the things that you've said this season. Most recently saying that Stacey can't be trusted around husbands and children. What is that? What the is that? Like, Gizelle is still continuing to show us, y'all, that she hasn't changed in her heart, for real, for real. All she's doing is putting up a facade to make us think such. But I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Anyway, next scene we get Stacey and AJ. I like their scenes. I like what AJ brings as far as bringing Stacey's friend. He's in town, obviously, for her grand opening of her product launch, I should say, I want to say. So they go out, and really all this scene is Stacey giving him the rundown on how all the ladies have been coming at her. And his whole thing is, you know who you are, you know where you're from. So you need to tell them, you need to back these just up off you, as the diva Erica De Niro TV would say. You got to back these bitches up off you sometimes. And Stacey, I understand you're not confrontational, but if you want to get them up off your back, yes, you're probably going to have to approach it a different way. I do hope, though, that once the cameras went down or whatever, AJ told her, like, listen, girl, you also probably aren't helping yourself out by, if you're going to lie, make sure your lie is the same lie being told to everybody. I don't feel like that's been the case with Stacey, which is why she's in the boat she's in right now. She's getting twisted up and turned up and down when it comes to her lies, because she's telling this person one thing, she's telling this person another thing, and that's never going to go over well in the long run. But shout outs to AJ for keeping it real with his homegirl, okay? And we also found out in this scene that Stacey had sent out invitations to her Shio product launch, and she's not too sure who all is going to come through, but she did extend the invite in the group text, I want to say. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, then we check in on Tia. I don't really know how to take Tia at this point. I feel like, I don't know. I don't completely dislike her, but y'all know, if you've watched my previous recaps, reviews, then you know how I feel about Tia right about now. And I still feel that way. She kind of only is reiterating the same things when it comes to her personal life. We've been hearing like time and time again that had money, didn't have money. She went a little bit more into detail in this scene with it, just to say that her father was not really, like, they had money, but when it comes to actually building generational wealth, I would say, and actually retaining it and multiplying said funds, he wasn't too well versed in that. So once the 80s was done, they didn't really have no more money like that. And she is grateful that she went through that, though. And I can understand where she's coming from when she says that. She has a different outlook, more than likely, on money. I'd like to think that, with that being said, her money shouldn't be probably funny, and that she is financially stable, because I'm sure she doesn't want to end up like her father in that regard. What else? Is this when she called Stacey? Yeah, she called Stacey, and she says that she was apprehensive about receiving the invite, but she does want to come and support her. So, but they both understand that a conversation needs to be had, because unlike what Stacey said before, that she is no longer seeking a friendship with Stacey, she does say in this scene that she hasn't completely written her off. So I'm like, see, you just be saying stuff to say stuff, whatever. I guess that was the emotions talking when she said that originally. But anyway, we shall see how that conversation goes later on in the episode. Moving right along, we get two different scenes, y'all, in this episode with Ashley. This first one was between Ashley and Josh, who I thought after last week we were never going to see again. But anyway, we know Ashley don't have anything else to talk about, so I wasn't completely surprised. I just rolled my eyes and got up and got something to drink at this point, to be honest. Anyway, she was going on about how she's more used to doing and engaging in more elevated experiences when it comes to dating. They threw up a picture of her and Michael with the dolphin. I was like, oh, please don't. Please. I don't even want to think about that man. But nonetheless, pretty much Josh is not on the level that she would want him to be on in terms of finances. He tries to speak up for himself and say, like, you don't really know where my finances lie, for real. She's like, we haven't even been on a trip, boo. And he's like, what do you mean? I did invite you to come back with me to Pittsburgh for a couple days. Y'all, when I say, I'm like, Josh, you could have kept that to yourself now. And that's no shade to my Pittsburgh people. If you guys are watching, that, no shade to y'all, but even I knew that that's not what Ashley was talking about. She's like, international trips, boo. I'm just at a different point in my life. And although I don't agree with Ashley bringing him on here to do this, because that's just like not cool, in my opinion. She could have saved this. That's messed up. I do understand where she was coming from in so many breaths when she says that they're at two different points in their lives, especially him being younger, never married, doesn't have any kids. She doesn't know if she wants to have more children. She just finally got officially divorced. And from my viewpoint, I'm going to assume that she just wants to she's not looking to rush into anything. Maybe he's super serious or whatever. And this was just something to do for the moment and for the storyline of it all. And instead, she allowed it to go on this long, which is why she now has to nip it in the bud, because she doesn't see longevity in him. And clearly he sees that in her, or wanted to see that in her, because every excuse she was giving, he had a rebuttal. He had a response. He had a justification. And again, I feel like she could have just saved this, honestly, and been truthful and just let it be. If she wanted to sleep with him, then cool, that's fine. But she should have just let it be that from the beginning. And that would have saved poor Jassi some of the heartbreak. But you know, Ashley don't care about nobody but herself. Anyway, next up, we finally get this one-on-one sit down between Gizelle and Monique, y'all. And I'm like, Gizelle, I do appreciate Monique telling Gizelle that she likes to get involved in other people's business and relationships and whatnot. Gizelle tried to act surprised, and I was like, bitch, you know damn well that that's your MO and has been your MO. But my thing is, Monique, you know this lady doesn't like you still, and she hasn't liked you since you brought up the 4 homes of it all back in the day. But I feel like, I don't know, I just wasn't buying what Monique was selling. And maybe it's because, and I'm sure you guys have seen on Watch What Happens Live and additional clips that are floating around on the internet now, that Monique doesn't see a need to speak to Candace, to reconcile with Candace, which I could understand you guys not being friends or ever getting back to where you were, or should I say weren't, because also according to Monique, they were never really like super deep friends like that, which I think that's like bullshit right there to me. Because if I can remember correctly, Monique used to like refer to Candace as little sis, or they definitely did have a true relationship. So for her to feel the need to have this be the only stone left unturned in her life, meaning between her and Gizelle and her healing journey and everything, I'm not really completely buying it, nor am I buying the reasoning behind the flip of the switch and everything. She should have just said, no, it was because I really wanted to bop you over the head, bitch, but I didn't, and I took it out on Candace instead. I don't know, I just wasn't buying it, y'all. And can you guys maybe tell me in the comments if you were buying it? How do you feel about it? I just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And I understand, again, you and Candace not ever being back in the place that you were, because I don't think that's possible after like what happened, quite honestly. And also a lot of the antics and stunts she pulled following the altercation, Monique, it was just weird to me. And again, it was also giving that you just kind of are following in line and are going with the hierarchy of this show, I feel like. And I felt like Gizelle felt that way too. When she says she needed to feel it out, I think that was code for, I need to ensure that you know who the queen bee around here is, and that you can't come for me, so don't try. I felt like that's kind of what Gizelle's attitude said up underneath it all, but it is what it is. I think that's all I have to say about it. Let me look at my notes. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's it. Next up, we get a scene that is also completely unnecessary, y'all. Why did Greg have Kay's mom and Angel down there at the jewelry store looking at $180,000, $120,000, $2 million? rings, y'all. Engagement rings. Knowing daggone well he don't care about marrying this girl right now, at least. Nor do I think that, quite honestly, Greg doesn't give me struggling. He doesn't give me not financially stable, but he also gives me has 3 kids, has an ex-wife, has gone through a divorce, has also just purchased a new house. He gives me a way more modest life than a $2 million engagement ring. I am aware that he owns a mental health care facility, I'm pretty sure, right? Y'all correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But by no means do I think that he should be up in there wasting our time looking at rings like that. And Angel, I'm like, you're living on a La La Land cloud, clearly, just based off the things she was saying. Completely unnecessary. Love to see Kay's mom, because, I think she's drop dead gorgeous, just like her daughter. But all in all, we didn't need to see this scene, y'all. That man, he was probably sweating bullets up underneath it all, because he knew that this was all for some giggles. And I wasn't giggling because what's the point of it? I want to see you actually spending money on Housewives. Like, that's why I tune in. I want to see people that are living a certain lifestyle, that are dropping bags here left and right. Like, that's what I want to see. And there was no transaction done in this scene, so I felt like they could have kept it. But anyway, what else? Ashley takes her sister Jessica shopping. Why does Jessica look smack dab like her mama? Like, literally, she looks just like Sheila, for real. But I hope that she was 100% comfortable and aware of what was going to be discussed in this scene prior to coming in this scene, because at one point she does get emotional, because that man that had Sheila living up under the bridge is Jessica's biological father, and she's at the point she's about to leave the nest, and she don't even know if she wants to come back to visit, y'all, because of the level of dysfunction going on over there. And I'm like, am I completely blaming Sheila for that man's substance abuse issues or anything like that? No, by no means am I saying that that's her fault. But what is her fault is allowing herself and her child to live in that level of dysfunction, to where now this young lady feels pushed to go out into the world and never really even come back to visit home. Like, that's telling, y'all. When kids go off to college, you could clearly tell who had a positive upbringing, had a positive, supportive ecosystem back at home growing up, based on when you do leave the nest and never come back. I know people personally that never came back home after leaving because of the same type of situation. So Sheila, you should have got yourself up out of there, and your daughter, I feel. 1 and 2, yeah, I do feel bad for Jessica growing up like that. I guess, I never want to give Ashley too much, but if you say you're going to be there for her, and you have been there for her and stuff like that, in that regard, good on you for being a good big sister in that way. But this man is really just wreaking havoc over there, and I would never want to be a part of that. I don't blame her for feeling the way she feels, but this was a very vulnerable conversation, and I do hope that she was 100% comfortable and aware that this was what they were going to talk about. What else? Wendy and Eddie, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I get really uncomfortable. Like, I'm pretty sure I've said on here before, I get really uncomfortable when anything financial comes up with Wendy and Eddie right now, because obviously what's going on with them in present time. So when I'm seeing her debit card not working, or her not remembering her debit card PIN, and then, if you guys have been keeping up with what's going on outside of the show, which, side note, I don't want to ever just focus on that, of course, and like that. But obviously, we know what we know, and it makes me so uncomfortable. But he did have a. She remembered the pen eventually, thankfully. Otherwise, the naysayers online were going to take that and run with it, I'm sure. But she is having, or not she, Eddie was having a pop-up, and he was coming out with a new strain called the Nutty Professor, which of course was inspired by Wendy. And so we just got like a little clip of that. And I quite honestly, going back to the debit card of it all, I feel like production really is playing in her face and stuff like that with these edits, because this is a clip that I don't truly believe would have made it into the final episode cut if they weren't going through what they were going through in real life, for real. It would have just been like, oh, ha ha, he, Wendy's being silly. She forgot her PIN number. Like, it wouldn't have been that important, I feel like, to the story, the overall story, if not. But anyway, meanwhile, Stacey's arriving at her product launch, which I'm not sure if, I think she said it right here. Or Wendy had mentioned how she wasn't invited to the product launch because, to her face, Stacey has said that it may be like a conflict of interest, which she wasn't fazed by. But I'm like, see, that's, I don't know. Like, anyway. But in the scene at her event, we have her telling Tia that, oh, Wendy couldn't make it, or what did she say? Oh, she couldn't be there. And I'm like, this is what I mean. Like, just say what you said to her, which was that I think it'd be a conflict of interest, because if you don't say it, then that means that that you probably look a little copycatish, I feel like, or a little guilty, because why couldn't you just say what it really was? She wasn't that she couldn't be there. It was because what you told her, which would be a conflict of interest. Anyway, Gizelle also wasn't there, wasn't surprised. She wouldn't have got an invite from me at all, and neither would Kay. I feel like Stacey she didn't invite them personally. She invited everybody as a group. So for them being Gizelle and especially Kay to come back like, no, thank you. That gives, girl, she didn't invite you just personally. Like, this was not her trying to reach out her arm and say, oh my gosh, will you come to my event? And no, it wasn't none of that at all. Like, she was just being polite, I feel. But anyway, Tia, of course, asks, where's TMO? And he's traveling apparently, like he always is. Okay, whatever. Ashley comes in, y'all. She's shady right off the bat. Which annoyed me, because as her and Stacey are speaking, which I kind of wasn't understanding why Stacey even wanted to speak to Ashley at her event, knowing that it could potentially go left and ruin her event. I don't understand. I'll never understand why these ladies do that. But I would have told her she can get the fuck as soon as she said called Stacey a lying asshole. Like, Ashley really be talking big shit, and they got a lot more restraint and patience than I do, because Ashley would have been verbally tore to shreds a long time ago if she was fucking with somebody like me. Just saying. But this is where we get the clip that we've been seeing, or we get the scene exchange that we've been seeing in a lot of the clips that have been floating around in the trailers and stuff, of Stacey saying like, no more lies, or no more negativity, no more evil, no more hazing, in unison with Ashley saying no more lies. That did make me giggle a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But again, it's everybody in this episode, and by everybody I mean the Ashleys and the Gizelles of the world, trying to call everybody else out for being liars when y'all lie and do so much wild shit on this show that you should be the last people talking. For real. And I'm just like shocked that certain people are letting y'all get this off, because it could never be me. Which with either of them's track record, it could never be me. Y'all could never tell me shit. For real. Anyway. We'll see. We'll see if Ashley backs off. I doubt it, though, based on what I just said. So then once they all gather around, and it was Jassi and Tia were also there, we have Tia and Stacey having their conversation of what has transpired between them. And I don't know. Whose side are you guys on, y'all? I want to know. Who do you feel like was right or wrong or justified or unjustified? Who in this entire thing? I'm really sick of hearing about it, honestly, because I have critiques for everybody. Stacey, once again, if you're gonna lie, keep the lie straight, and also know when you're going to know when you have to tell the truth on something, which is in these situations where you could have just been honest from the get-go, because we found out that the real reason behind you not introducing Wendy to your husband, ex-husband, whatever, first, is because based off of what transpired or what they brought to the forefront last reunion. And by they, I mean Wendy and Eddie, which I really don't feel like is... Everybody's justified in how they feel. And I mean, we haven't heard it from Timo himself, so I don't really know I don't want to just make assumptions. All we know is that he didn't like that. And my whole thing is, why he should really be upset with either you or AJ in general, because all we saw was Eddie. Was it Eddie and Greg? Yeah. Truthfully, innocently, I should say, reaching out to AJ like, hey, where you at, buddy? Whatever, based on you bringing him on the show and saying that this was, your little boo or whatever. Only for him to air you out, which still has never, got to the 100% bottom of that, airing you out for hiring him or whatever. He should really be mad at AJ or Stacey, in my opinion, more so than he should be mad at them. Because anyway, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Am I right or wrong for saying that? I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. What the issue is right here in this moment for Stacey is that Tia focused on the comfort level that she shares with both Wendy and Eddie. And she felt as though Tia was overstepping. And then Tia's whole thing is she came into this group, she heard things about Stacey, and she still was trying to give her a chance. She was still trying to understand her. She was trying to form a friendship with her, despite knowing those things. And they start to really get more heated because apparently, according to Tia, Stacey was telling her that she needs to have her back, which is not something we haven't heard the new ladies coming onto the show. It's not far-fetched. It's not uncommon, I want to say, for them to, quote unquote, form an alliance or to have some type of allegiance to one another against some of the other veteran housewives, OG housewives that are on the cast with them. I don't feel like that's weird. And that's another thing where it's like, Stacey, if that is what you did, then just say like, okay, yeah, I did that. And where I got off the bus with Tia is because I'm seeing right through her too. Especially when she says things like, oh no, I don't need to play Detroit. Detroit? What's that supposed to mean? What do you mean, huh? And a lot of people online were saying, well, oh, Stacey mocked Tia's accent earlier in the episode or whatever. No, I'm not even trying to hear that, because Tia, this isn't the first time Tia has said or displayed a certain type of attitude, or has made me think that she doesn't see herself or see herself maybe being attached to certain things in life. I'll be very ambiguous and say things, okay? And if you need more context, did we forget about how she's never been to Chicago? Like, that's where her husband's from. Like, again, this is just what chord it struck with me as a viewer, y'all. I'm only speaking for myself when I say this. I didn't really like that. And if I was from Detroit, I would be offended. Just saying. In the end, I wasn't surprised that, I guess, Stacey really did take what AJ said to her, and she told Thea to get to stepping, girl. Get your ass up out my event. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, this is what a lot of people, I think, have been wanting to see from Stacey, for her to stand up for herself and not come out of character or not do anything that she's going to regret, but show them like, hey, I'm not the one or the two. I just, I don't feel like it should have came to this between them at the end of the day, because I feel like none of this was that big of a deal. / I feel like I just didn't need to become this serious, I feel. And I'm not sure if they'll come back from this. Do you guys think they'll come back from this? How do you guys feel about this? Again, who do you think is right and wrong in this situation? I want to know. I don't want to keep hearing about this for the rest of the season, though, y'all. I'm not going to lie about that. I don't want to keep hearing about this for the rest of the season. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see in episode 11, which comes out literally today. So, y'all, I will catch you in the next one. Please, again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the things, and I'll catch you later. Bye.